fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top now.
Oh my God! Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God!
God, what?
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in indoor series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome one and all to SimSpeed TV. You know what time it is. It's time for the Aussie Online Gaming Porsche Cup presented by Sam Blacklock Media. Season 6 has turned out to be an incredibly competitive season with some action-packed races, and we continue it for a super sprint here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course for Round 5. We've got 3 15-minute races coming up for you tonight. To bring it all to you live here on SimSpeed TV, on YouTube, on Twitch and on Facebook is myself, Reese Gardner, and Jay Kennedy alongside me. Jay, we absolutely enjoy Mid-Ohio any day of the week, any time of the year. It's one of the classic American road courses.
Yeah, such an underrated track, isn't it, Reese? It's a track that is often forgotten about in regards to season schedules and things like that, but it's a really unique circuit, such a big challenge for the drivers, and it's going to offer up some really good racing, some tough overtaking opportunities, but if you make the most of the runs that you can get here, you can make them work and make them stick as well, because it is quite easy to defend those spots once you get the passes made.
Absolutely. Got some great overtaking opportunities at the keyhole down at turn 2. Also potentially coming into the carousel, into the final corner there, and at turn 4 as well. That brilliant switchback section through turns 5 and 6. That entire back half of the circuit there, it can be very difficult to run side by side. If you do, you stand a chance of losing a lot of time. And interesting to note, Jay, the last couple of times we've broadcast races at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, I've pointed out it's one of the few circuits on iRacing that has actually gotten less twisty as time has gone on. Mid-Ohio is another one. The original layout it opened with had the chicane before the keyhole, which is still there in the real world, but bypassing it on this layout. And between turn 9 and Thunder Valley, up at the top of the image, there was an S-bend. So this track certainly made a little bit straighter as time goes on, which I guess suits the fast and powerful cars that race here today. Yeah,
and another interesting factor about this track as well, which will actually be in use tonight, is that the start line is at a completely different point on the circuit to the finish line. The start line in the real world is at turn 3 to ensure that drivers have a bit of a run up towards there, and it's legitimately straight. So at the turn 3 kink is where the start line is, and for tonight we'll be using a rolling start and having that as our actual starting point for each of the 3 races.
That we will. So you'll see drivers potentially going for turn 1 overtaking opportunities into turn 4. This is the format for tonight. We got 16-minute races happening here and 12 laps in length, whichever ends up coming first. If there's a safety car in any of these races, then it will go time certain to 16 minutes. And the top 15 are reversed for the second race, which if you finish outside the top 15, it's going to hurt even more, because we've got 21 cars here tonight. We got, we've got 19, it seems. So few drivers will miss out on that invert. This is how the championship standings look coming into round 5. Job Stewart leading the way from Bo Albert, who had an excellent run a couple of weeks ago. and finally breaking his victory duck in this series after a difficult few opening rounds of the season.
Yeah, interesting though. The first 4 rounds we've had in the season, 4 different winners. We've had Stewart, Albert, Shepherd, and also, Stewart, Albert, Webster, and also Caruso have all won a round in the pro standings. So 4 rounds, 4 different winners. And with drop rounds as well, that championship is still absolutely wide open as well.
That it is, and these are the Pro-Am Championship standings here. Simon Mizomo taking the championship lead there. He's put in some great drives, particularly last round at Mosport, taking the Pro-Am victory in race 2. Not that far ahead of Tyson Broad though, so if there is a poor showing for Mizomo here, then that could certainly look very different.
Yeah, it's a pretty open field, isn't it? I mean, it's probably our most competitive class at the moment too, with the number of drivers that have been in with contention of winning races and great battles throughout as well. So looking forward to seeing how the Pro-Am plays out tonight. The Am standings, Nicholas Garrioch is leading that field, and no surprise there. He's been really, really strong in that Am Championship, and we'll see how he goes tonight. But Javian Wood, Kyle Booth, all looking to try and close that gap down, but Nicholas Garrioch definitely been in a league of his own at the moment.
Yes, he's head and shoulders above the other Am drivers in terms of raw pace at the moment, and able to hold on to some fantastic positions in the races. Finished in the top 10, I think, in both races at Mosport last round. It's looking pretty close there between Kyle Booth and Jai Schultz for 3rd place as well. And you go a bit further down, there's not much of a difference for 8th on back, with Boyle, Mitchell and Kefford barely separated there by 7 points. So there's plenty to happen here at Mid-Ohio. We're in qualifying at the moment. We're already seeing some drivers have their issues here up at the back half of the circuit. Just making his way back on there is Kyle Booth. Went for a big spin, and that's a section of the circuit where it can be very easy to spin out, especially in a rear engine car like the Porsche 992. You go through a almost flat-out S-bend. Javin Wood, I think, will demonstrate it for us pretty shortly here, coming through turn 6, and then here is that S-bend over the crest. You've got to get on the brakes through that right-hander to slow down in time and hook up the inside for the next right-hander. There's also a big rise and crest on the exit that makes the rear end go light.
It's a really, really fun section of track, though. When you nail it, it feels so amazing, but it is so easy to get wrong, especially if you are new to the circuit and haven't quite got the circuit nailed in as much as you'd like. So we'll see how many drivers get caught out by that. No doubt it'll be a few. Good lap there from Javin Wood, and he will move up the timesheets to leading the class 3rd outright at this stage.
Good stuff there from Javin Wood. Currently the quickest time is the number 43 of Dylan Shepherd in the Pro-Am class. Good to see that Shep's still out there and racing. I was teammates with him for a while, some time back. Haven't seen him around all that much due to his working with real-life racing teams as a mechanic, so good to see that he is back on the sim. Rob Harris as well for Mach 1 Esports. People in the AusNZ sim racing community mainly know Rob for his streaming, and he'll certainly be streaming this one tonight, hoping that he puts on a good show for his audience. Towards the end of the lap he comes, and it's a 1:24.0 for Rob's second time, improving by a 10th on what he did have, but still a bit of a way off from that P1 of Dylan Shepherd, about 9/10.
Yeah, still got a little bit to find, but not much. It's very, very close, but he's not quite there yet. Jai Schultz, I should say, is about to start a lap. Zach Mitchell about to finish a lap. 1:24.2. That won't improve. Notice that not all of the drivers are out on track at the moment. We run split qualifying in this series, so the 30 minutes are split up into 2 13-ish minute segments so that everyone gets a chance to get out on track, get the same amount of laps and same amount of time, and the track isn't too congested, which has worked quite well throughout this season so far.
Yeah, it'll work especially well here at Mid-Ohio too, because the corners come so thick and fast here. There's not much space for straights as Nicholas Garrioch improves to a 1:23.4. Yeah, there's, as you see, this straight here out of turn 1 that Garrioch is demonstrating now, one of the few places on this circuit where you actually do have space to pull over and let someone by if you're on a lap. Once you get past the keyhole, past this back stretch, there's pretty much no opportunity throughout the entire last half of the lap. There is a short straight between turns 9 and 10, I believe, but other than that, it's all corners, and you're always trying to get your line right through there. Once you've committed to it, there's not much alteration you can make. And this corner right here, turn 5, cresting a hill right in the middle of a hairpin. It's always been a challenge, and it's a corner that has been the bane of my existence when I've been racing around here.
Yeah, it's a tough segment, isn't it? It's always seem to find a way to get the car off balance at the wrong point of the circuit or the wrong point of the corner. So I've always had difficulties there too. And that little crest at turn 6 as well always caught me out at this track whenever I raced here. But this lap from Garioch has looked very, very smooth, very, very consistent. And it could even improve on that time he did on that previous lap.
Let's see then, 1 minute 23.645, unfortunately, misses out by 0.2. Maybe somewhere in the final sector there was something that he could have improved on. Dylan Shepherd, though, currently P1, slight technical issues there as he crosses the line, but he is the first driver into the 1 minute 22 bracket. Excellent stuff there from Shep.
Nice lap, good to see he's still got some form. Dylan Shepherd, of course, used to... When he was racing regularly, he used to race in top split V8 Scops, but hasn't been on the sim anywhere near as much as he used to back in the day. Liam James out to complete another lap. They haven't got many left in this session at the moment. There's not much time left on the clock for these guys. And Liam James posts his second flying lap. Doesn't improve on his first of a 1:24.9, and he's going to struggle to improve now after looping it. After clipping that little curb on the inside at the exit of turn 1. Very, very easy to do. There's a little curb. Oh, not another driver out the same spot. That's Robert Cook. That same section of track catching drivers out. That little lump. But talking about the pit exit, there's a little curb that separates the pit exit and the track proper, which... If you get a little bit too aggressive, it's very, very inviting to try and climb the curb, but if you do it wrong, it will loop your car around very, very easily.
It surely will. That's something that you've got to be especially careful of in a car like the Porsche Cup. Let's see if Shepherd decides to kiss that curb. Yes, he does. Just bounces off it, but keeps the car nice and stable across the exit. And then down to the keyhole, you see off to the left the original route the track took. The chicane that is still used as an alternative layout around here. And this keyhole corner, it's all about trying to keep it as straight as possible as you go downhill and nail the exit. It looks like Shepherd's done a very good job of that. Just a few more seconds to go, and at the 17-minute mark, that is officially the 2-minute warning for Group 1. And now, anyone who's currently on a lap will be able to finish it. Shepherd, it seems, looking quite comfortable with this lap so far. Let's see what the number 43 can do here. Try and keep it as flat as possible through this S-bend, over the crest. The front end goes light, and then you load it up again as you turn in here. Slight bit of understeer for Shep. He missed the apex by about half a meter, it looked like, but seems like it's a good lap here for him. Let's see then. Oh, man. Oh, it's a shame there. Shepherd, I think... deciding that there's a big enough margin, don't really need to improve all that much. But Kyle Booth is still on a lap, though, about to go through the same bit of racetrack. And I wish that Shepherd had committed to that lap because, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, that's an off track, and that's a spin into the wall for Kyle Booth. Once again, the dips and rises around this place, it really makes it difficult to keep the rear end in check, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's... The elevation is the thing that really catches drivers out about this track. It's not necessarily the corners or the shape of the corners. It's the way that the corners are positioned in regards to the elevation. The elevation around this track is such an underrated section, a segment of this track. It's so fun, and the elevation just adds such a fun aspect to the circuit. You were talking before about the keyhole. I think the thing that makes that corner is the elevation change throughout that corner. It's so unique how it changes, dips and dives away and breaks away from what you're expecting. It's going to catch some drivers out for sure. looking forward to seeing what it does to drivers throughout our racing tonight, because it will play havoc to someone throughout the racing.
Yeah, it will be very tempting to fling one up the inside as we check out the results so far. So Dylan Shepherd 3/10 ahead of Robert Cook. Those are the two pro drivers at the top, and Rob Harris, the third pro driver, down in 6th. Top 3 in AM going to be Wood, Garriott and Booth. Interesting to see that Garriott is not the top AM driver in qualifying this time around, with Schultz, Mitchell and James rounding out the 9 cars that took part in that first section of qualifying. Green flag, meanwhile, has flown for Group 2. That's the other half of the Pro-Am class, plus our pro drivers. And it's been a little bit of a drop-off in the grid over the last few weeks in this championship. So not as many pro drivers out there as there were before. Hopefully, with the likes of Cooper Webster here, who got a podium in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup just recently, it's going to be very competitive here up the front. And Webster, though he wasn't here last round, certainly still got a good shot here at taking the championship if he decides to commit to it.
Yeah, definitely. You would think if he can commit to enough rounds to win the championship, he's well and truly one of the favourites. But at the moment, Job Stewart leading the championship, though with drop rounds. Bo Albert is the technical leader of the championship. So very, very interesting to see how tight that championship is. You notice too that the class colours on our championship leaders' cars are different this week. So if you see a blue number plate on the side of the car or on the windscreen banner, or a little blue box on the rear, that denotes even that you know what I'm trying to say. They're the championship leader. It's been a long day.
Of course. Well, yeah, you see that blue banner on Job Stewart's windscreen. Overall and pro championship leader here, towing Bo Albert along on these first couple of laps. Albert's still weaving here. These drivers are taking a bit here to heat up their tyres, going for a couple of goes at a lap it seems, but with only 15 minutes to work with, 13 minutes rather, these drivers won't have much time to get those times down. But Bo still wants to stay as close to Job as possible. He knows that Stewart in some ways is equal on raw pace with Albert, so just staying within range down the straight will pay dividends for him on the very short straights that this track does have. Will get a good draft. Stewart swinging it out wide, Albert swinging it out wide, and this is the view from Matt Bowler. Let's see how these guys go as they start their first proper qualifying laps. Stewart on the way into turn 1, looking nice and stable, clobbers that inside curve. Albert avoids it for the most part, but you see that Job Stewart has gotten a little gap on Bo Albert already, as that's a spinner in the background. That's Simon Mazzomo, the Pro-Am Championship leader, going for a little bit of a slidey slide out of turn 1.
It's definitely not the fastest way to do it, so he's got a little bit of work to do to get the heat cycled into the tyres, how he'll be comfortable. Interesting to notice that only 3 of those drivers actually completed an official lap time on that previous lap. And they've sort of said, from what I was listening to those guys earlier, that it's probably going to take them maybe their 3rd lap before they're 100% comfortable with the tyre temperature and the grip levels in the car. So it's going to be interesting to see whether that is the lap that they'll get their best lap time on, or whether it will be this one on lap number 2.
Slight little bit of oversteer there from Job Stewart as he went off the crest through the last proper left-hander on the lap. So hard to get the line right through there. It's blind on entry, and you've got grass beside the track all the way through. He does nail the exit out of the final corner, flat out left-hander, and a 1 minute 21.9 for Job Stewart, 1:22.0 for Bo Albert. Bowler does a 1 minute 22.1. Goodness me, these guys are looking quick. What about Cooper Webster? He's going to set a 22.174. Only P4 for Cooper Webster so far, but he will know that he has what it takes to fight for pole here, as Sebastian Flock, it seems, beginning another lap potentially, setting 9th place, 1 minute 23.262. We're waiting on a lap here from Tyson Broad as well. Remember, Broad is fighting Mazomo for the Pro-Am Championship at the moment.
And Broad is the only driver in the entire field to not register a lap time at this stage. So Tyson Broad really needs to get this one nailed in, get this lap to count. As it is at the moment, Sebastian Flock looks like he might be the one that jumps up the field the most though. He's personal best first and second sector. Using that draft from Broad ahead to be able to nail these sector times. Cameron Dance also on a very good lap as well. Bo Albert though starting to set some purple sectors at the end of this lap. This could be enough to jump ahead of Job Stewart.
Let's see what Albert can do then. Can he slow it down in time for the second last corner? He can, and it's a nice smooth line out too. 22.0 the time to beat. Yep. 21.875 pole position, at least for the time being, for Bo Albert.
Yep, nice lap. Doesn't look like Cooper Webster at this stage is going to improve. So he's actually pulled it into the pits and going for another run. We'll see what Sebastian Flock can do. There is big improvement for him. He'll jump up into 5th. Cameron Dance improves as well. He'll jump into 5th. Push Flock back to 6th. Our top 6 are all pro drivers. Broad also in the 10th. Good lap from him.
Yeah, excellent stuff there from Tyson Broad. Simon Mazomo then sets his first time, 8th place for him, and not that far off Dylan Shepherd, who set the fastest Pro-Am time in the first session, and pit entry practice here for Sebastian Vandel. This being a super sprint, a pit stop is not necessarily required, but it's still worth it to practice your pit entry anyway in case you have to go in for repairs, because in the races, the no escape rule is active. That's a huge slide from Cooper Webster through turn 1. Just caught the curb a little bit wrong and had to give it a big helping of opposite lock. He's abandoned it.
Yep. I wasn't sure whether he was going to continue that one or not. And no real surprise to see him abandon that one after just one corner. He did push that limit very, very hard. Had to back out of it. Seb Flock on another good run, but Simon Mazomo is the one that's impressing me on the times at the moment. Sector times, personal best, first and second sector. And looking very, very good in this middle sector at the moment too. So we'll see if he improves enough to maybe put it on Pro-Am pole.
That's a good benchmark time from Dylan Shepherd. That 1 minute 22.878. Mazomo only a 10th and a bit behind it. Slows it up nicely. Straight exit out of the final corner. Where does Mazomo put it? 22.947. That is an improvement for him, but not quite enough to pip Shepherd.
No, not enough. Needs to find another 10th. Or just under a 10th? Yeah, just under a 10th. 700ths of a second is enough for him to get himself up to P1. And interesting, that lap from Flock was an improvement, but have a look at the gap between Seb Flock and Cameron Dance. 0.02 of a second.
Woohoo! That's the kind of gap that we love to see. Looks like it's going to be all on for the top 5 here. But, I mean, you see that gap that all of those pro drivers have over the rest of the field here. Flock, 5/10 off the provisional pole time from Bo Albert. You got to go all the way up to 9/10 to see the gap that Dylan Shepherd has. So it looks like the pros are on a different level to our other two classes at the moment, as we see Joshua Van Treek here trying to improve on 10th overall and 4th in Pro-Am.
This lap start hasn't looked the best from him, so don't think we're going to see too much in regards to improvement at this stage on this lap. But then again, the second lap that we've seen already, that is the lap. It is the key moment for these guys. So first lap almost is your banker, your out lap, you pace yourself, get your muscle memory back to where you want it to be, and then you go for that second run. Even a little bit of brake dragging to generate a bit of extra heat into those front tyres.
Through he goes then. Final corner for Van Treek, starting another hot lap here. How does he go through turn 1? Difficult to pick the line. Stays off the curb on entry in the middle and on exit 2. That looks pretty good there for him. Switches over nice and early for the entry into the keyhole. Uphill braking zone. hook up the apex a bit early, swing out wide, and then bring it back in. Double apex to straighten the run out when the track flattens on the exit. That looked pretty well executed there from the driver of the number 97. Through an ever so slight turn there at turn 3 on the back stretch, and trying to brake as late as you dare here for this turn 4, which is a little bit faster than it looks, but you've got to keep it tight on exit to try and open up the entry into those other hairpins. Oh, that looked a bit leery there from Job Stewart towards the end of this lap. Let's see if he can improve on his lap time. He's got 0.05 of a second to make up to take provisional pole from Bo Albert, and he does not improve there on his current best time. That is a shame to see.
He was close, wasn't he? Only
Very
a couple
close.
of hundredths. He lost. As you said, it looked a little bit leery coming out into that last complex. He lost 1/10 of a second through that third last corner. That would have been the difference between being on pole and still being in second.
Were it for a little slide, that may have been provisional pole for Job Stewart. Well, we'll keep our eyes on the drivers as they make their way around. Albert, let's see if he can improve on his current best. Sticking it nice and tight on the entry into the carousel, and looking nice and smooth on the exit as well. 22.0, not an improvement, but he'll surely know with only a couple of minutes left before the checkered flag flies. He's going to have to get in a better time if he wants to feel safe here versus Job Stewart.
Yeah, well, not only Job as well, you got Cooper Webster not that far behind, only 0.3 back, so very, very close. Not far away. Cameron Dance on a very, very good lap at the moment. He's on personal best first and second sectors as he gets to the halfway point of the lap. See what he can do through the more difficult section of the track. Through the very, very twisty S's section. Look at the way that the car compresses up over the hill. It's amazing to see the suspension work as it does in these cars. An amazing track, and the undulation just adds so much character.
Yeah, this is one of the most legendary racetracks in the United States for good reason. Bit of a lock-up, though, for Cameron Dance. He'll translate that into a late apex in the carousel for a straight run out, but I'm wondering if that cost him an opportunity in improving on 5th. 22.496. Man, it looks like it did.
Yep. That last sector cost him around about 1/10.5. Speaking of 1/10.5, purple sector by around about that margin in the second sector there for Cooper Webster. This could be a pole lap right now.
It's looking very smooth, and very smooth looking car with that Red Bull Esports livery. Let's see what he can do through the last couple corners here. Doesn't go too far over the curb. And that's a nice smooth line through carousel as Sebastian Vandel improves to 9th on a 22.9. But will Cooper Webster beat Bo Albert on this one? Ooh. Oh, so close there. He does move up into 3rd, pipping Matthew Bowler. But those times are incredibly close up at the front of this field. If you're interested in racing in this series, as Job Stewart goes to pole. My goodness, he has improved. Fantastic stuff there from Job.
That's come from absolutely nowhere as well. Don't know where he's gained all that time. I was trying to look at the sectors. I didn't see him get any green sectors or purple sectors, but it's come up that he's improved. Yeah, so the last sector is where he's found all his time.
All in those last few corners. As I was saying, if you're interested in racing in this series, it runs for the whole year, and you can jump onto the Aussie Online Gaming Discord as the checkered flag flies in the session. We keep a link to the AOG Discord in the YouTube description box if you're watching on YouTube, and if you're watching on Facebook, we also have a link in our post as well. So please do give it a shot. We're always looking for more people to join this series. Last couple of times should be coming in pretty soon, but the checkered flag will fly here. Number 27 of Tyson Broad.
That's close to his best. Can't ask for much more consistent than that.
Yeah, goodness me. Fantastic stuff there. Very close. At least Tyson should be feeling pretty good about that. Practicing pit entry as the 84 of Sebastian Flock comes across the line, 22.362. That's an improvement for him. It's not going to be enough, though, to get himself into the top 4. Well, looks like Bowler and Van Treek are the only drivers out on the circuit at the moment, and they will have finished. Van Treek just coming around to finish another lap here. Does he improve? Doesn't look like it. Misses out by about 0.7 of a second. Here's the grid then for the first race of the night at Mid-Ohio. It's Job Stewart and Bo Albert on the front row. Cooper Webster and Matt Bowler 3rd and 4th, with Sebastian Flock in 5th. Cameron Dance, car 6, starts 6th. In 7th place, it's going to be Dylan Shepherd. Simon Mazzomo lines up alongside him, with Sebastian Varndale and Joshua Van Treek rounding out the top 10. Robert Cook and Tyson Broad are 11th and 12th. Javin Wood taking pole position in the AM class, with Nicholas Garrioch starting alongside him. Then it's Kyle Booth, Rob Harris, Jai Schultz, Zach Mitchell and Liam James, the last of our 19 cars taking the start here tonight. Now, this is where the rolling start will grid up. This is on the way into the S-bend before the carousel. But as you mentioned, Jay, they're going to stay in formation past the start-finish line on the pit straight, and they will go racing out of the keyhole.
Yeah, which is the real-life start line for IndyCar, and also for... what else races here? IMSA.
Sports cars, yes, yep. IMSA.
And NASCAR Xfinity Series as well has raced here over the past few years as well. So they all start at that section.
Yeah, and that makes good sense. The start-finish straight is quite cramped at Mid-Ohio. Got a pit wall right next to you. And the straight is pretty narrow, so starting out of the keyhole works well. There's plenty of space either side if there's an incident and cars go flying off the circuit. Also provides a proper overtaking opportunity for drivers to make up positions on lap 1 coming into turn 4. So now the attention turns to Job Stewart and Bo Albert on the front row here. Stewart taking his time getting onto the grid. There's only 10 seconds left, Job. You better jump on. There he is. Good stuff. That's the entire grid.
He must have heard you.
Yeah, must have. That's the entire grid out on the circuit now. And if you're Bo Albert, you've got the inside line coming into turns 3 and 4 off the start. If you're Job Stewart, you're on the outside. So who really has the advantage here?
Probably Bo Albert does, because when they actually get to the start, he will be on the inside into turn 4.
Of course, Job Stewart does carry an inherent advantage in that he controls the pace of the field once the pace car pulls in, as it has now. They will stay single file here, and the iRacing green flag will fly, but the drivers are not going to go just yet. They'll stay in formation here through the first couple of turns of the lap, and that's why the race length has been increased to 16 minutes here. So that the drivers have time to get through to where they'll take the start, and they'll have 15 minutes worth of racing at the end. Just the last couple of bits of tyre warming going on here with Sebastian Flock, Matthew Bowler, all trying their best to make sure that they're up to temperature in their pursuit Porsches. Their teammate Job Stewart is going to be the one who leads them away off the start here. The Aussie Online Gaming Porsche Cup will begin with a rolling start here at Mid-Ohio. Now, when does Stewart decide to go? Entering the start zone pretty shortly, and he is away. Catches Bo Albert by surprise just a little bit. Oh no, he went a bit early. Oh, okay. Lifted off and let Bo Albert back by into the lead. Something's gone interestingly wrong there, as up the inside goes Dylan Shepherd, already trying to make up places. Went 3 wide with Sebastian Flock and Simon Mazzomo, but it looks like a pretty clean start here from the rest of the field. I don't know if Bo Albert was expecting to be gifted the lead going into the first corner like that.
Yeah, I think the start zone was the second set of cones, and of course there was a set of cones where the other segment of track loops around, and Job Stewart's gone there. Seb Flock almost looping it. and has held on to it just, but that was a wild moment. But yeah, I think Job's misread which set of cones he was at and gone at the earlier one rather than the actual start zone.
Either way, he has given up the lead, and in the midfield here, things are looking quite racy. Sebastian Flock, of course, losing a couple of positions there to Mazzomo and Van Dell, up in 7th place as we ride on board with Tyson Broad here. Broad currently down in 10th place. Got Sebastian Flock just up ahead of him, and Flock already trying his best to psych out the drivers behind. Not going to work that time round though, but an attempted move from the number 66 of Nicholas Garrioch. He's managed to make his way past Javin Wood on the first lap. He leads the AM class and now getting alongside Robert Cook, and Wood is going to try and follow him here. That's a big dive from Cooper Webster on Matthew Bowler. Does he pull it up in time? Only just protects the inside line then into turn 5. Good move there.
Beautiful job from Cooper Webster to dive it up the inside. Not make any contact, still pull it up for the apex and still maintain the position. He's done a very, very good job. Shows why he's racing with the top drivers in the world and getting podiums.
Indeed. Let's see what he can do then to catch up to Bo Albert and Job Stewart here at the front of the field. We know how good Webster is on pure pace alone, and Albert will be familiar with him. Cooper Webster, a driver usually associated with Altus Esports, but of course racing under the Red Bull Esports banner for his time in PESC, and across the line they come. Job Stewart a little more aggressive with his curb usage here. But it looks like taking 3/10 out of Bo Albert on that previous lap. So Job Stewart is on a mission here. As we look back at Simon Mazzomo chasing down Dylan Shepherd here. This is for the Pro-Am class lead.
And it's tightened up quite quickly as well, this lead. Last lap by Shepherd lost around about 0.8 of a second to Mazzomo. So he had started to break a bit of a lead as Job Stewart actually has got side by side with Bo Albert. He's going to throw it around the outside. You can make this work if you get it far enough around the outside. And I think Stewart might nearly be able to get this move done.
Bo Albert's going to keep pushing it though. Still side by side. Did they make a little bit of contact there? Maybe slightly. This has brought Cooper Webster right into it. Albert and Stewart make contact. Webster has to back out of it. Stewart sweeping around the outside of Bo Albert, struggling to get the power down. Albert's going to get him again here. Goodness me, this is a great show at the front. We're only a couple of minutes into the race. And there we go. They take each other off just about. Bo Albert on the grass. Can he get it slowed up in time? Yes, only just. Cameron Dance avoids him because he saw him coming, but Albert's not going to be too happy with Job Stewart for that one.
No, he'll be very, very upset about how that one's played out. And Job Stewart, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little message coming in from race control to redress the position. The issue he's got is Cooper Webster is right there, so he won't want to redress it with Cooper Webster there to pounce on that spot. He'll want to try and do it in a way where he can check that field up and somehow let Bo Albert through. This is going to be really difficult if he has got the penalty. A side-by-side for the Pro-Am lead. Dylan Shepherd and Simon Mazzomo. And Javin Wood has had a huge issue out of the first corner and put it into the wall as it's still on for the lead, and there comes the redress.
There we go. Job Stewart pulling over and letting Bo Albert back by. That is executed nicely there, but he has fallen back to 4th. Got to fight off Cameron Dance. But that was an excellent move by Dylan Shepherd on Simon Mazzomo. What on earth happened to Javin Wood, though? Let's see what happened to him here coming through turn 1. Did he catch the grass on the exit? Yes, he did. And that is a big bounce as he go through the grass, heavy into the wall. And that's the car effectively ruined.
Done a good job to make sure he didn't take anyone with him, but still a nasty incident. He'll limp it around and hope that some issues happen ahead of him so that he can get himself up to 15th. Remember, top 15 inverted. So he'll be hoping that he can gain some spots. They finished lap number 4. Still 10 minutes on the clock. This race has still got plenty of fighting left in it. But Cooper Webster's starting to pull a little bit of a gap. Matthew Bowler's been the biggest beneficiary of all of this commotion that's been going on ahead of him because he's now in a great spot, P2.
But a nice consistent drive here from Matthew Bowler so far tonight. I was impressed with his form in qualifying, but certainly he's taken advantage of things going around him in the race. But now Bo Albert and Job Stewart are together again, and this time it is not for the lead, it is for the last spot on the podium. And we're just getting news from race control about the incident between these two. Thanks to the redress, there is no further action. So, race on, guys.
Yeah, so that redress wasn't actually requested by race control. They've just noted that there was a redress and decided that that's enough to mean that they don't have to investigate any further. So, good sportsmanship from Job to do that. And a lot of race controls will look at things like that too. If you can acknowledge that you've made a mistake and try your best to redress it, they won't take any further action, which means that you can then race harder again. A lot of series and a lot of admins in a lot of different series look at things that way. And for me, I think it's great when a driver actually takes the initiative to penalise themselves when they do the wrong thing.
Yeah, it shows perspective. It shows that you know what the deal is. Well, these pro guys are racing away from the Pro-Am field here. Dylan Shepherd still holding on to it from Simon Mazzomo for 6th overall. They've got an angry pack of drivers behind them. They got Sebastian Flock in there with them as well, the last running of our pro drivers. Remember, he did have a couple of small issues at the start of the race, as there goes Job Stewart passing Bo Albert and doing it cleanly.
Nice move in the end there. We'll pick it up on the VRS replay and just got the momentum out of the keyhole, used the draft to his advantage. And Albert didn't even fight it in the end. He knew that that position was not there to hold on to. And just noticed too, you can notice there, a tiny little bit of damage to the front of Bo Albert's car from that contact earlier. I hadn't noticed it until just then.
Seems that it hasn't hurt him too much in terms of pace though, so probably only slightly visual damage. Might have picked up some of it on the grass as well. Oh, I've just seen a little bit of drama further back. Simon Mazzomo having to go wide in the carousel, and he has let Sebastian Flock through. That's given Dylan Shepherd quite the advantage here in the Pro-Am field. Here's what happened to Mazzomo. It looks like, just a lock-up on the way into the carousel for him. So easy to do in that corner. You have to brake and turn at the same time just to make it, and that requires careful modulation of your brakes. Mazzomo didn't quite get it right that time.
Yeah, almost looked as well like on top of that he missed his braking marker by maybe 15-20 metres, and that's all it takes to then force you to push the brake pedal down that extra bit harder. Lock the brakes, very easy to do through there, so unfortunate for Mazzomo, but in one aspect it hasn't really cost him anything because it's a pro driver that's gone through. This is a cool little battle though between Van Dal, Broad and Van Treek. All going at it quite hard. This is for position 9, 10 and 11.
Very nice racing between these three here, but Tyson Broad will be focusing a little bit further ahead. Remember, Simon Mazzomo is his championship rival in Pro-Am at the moment, and he would have seen that Mazzomo made that mistake and would have thought, yes, you know, if Mazzomo can make a couple more mistakes like that, I'll be right in on him and I can at least narrow that championship gap to him. It looks to me like Mazzomo's gone a little bit deep into carousel again, but does look like it's cost him too much time in the grand scheme of things. So let's see then what Tyson Broad can do to try and get past Joshua Van Treek, because we saw on the live pictures last lap he attempted a move coming down into turn 4. Let's see if he's got what it takes this time around.
A little bit more spread out this lap than the previous, so no moves at this stage. Our front four have maintained their gaps at around about 7 to 8 tenths of a second all the way through there, so no real positional changes there. This is our best battle, as well as the battle between Seb Flock and Dylan Shepherd. Flock, of course, trying to get himself back up into the top 6 positions, but the fact that it's a Pro-Am driver ahead of him, same as with Mazzomo before, it won't matter too much in the grand scheme of things if he does lose one spot here.
Exactly right, and the gap that these guys have over them is quite substantial. Dylan Shepherd just up ahead of Sebastian Flock here He's got a 4.4 second gap to Cameron Dance. Even if Sebastian Flock can get past him, it's unlikely that there's enough time left in the race for Flock to really make a move, as he got very squirrely there on the way into the carousel.
Not long left in this race. We said that it would be 12 laps or 16 minutes from when they cross the finish line. It looks like it will go to both, if that makes sense. It will. The time will expire on lap 12, so perfect timing for the race in that regard. A replay here of Zach Mitchell having a huge slide through second to last corner, or third last corner I should say, and just held on to it.
Indeed, the driver up ahead of him, Jai Schultz, saw him coming back onto the track and stayed wide to avoid any big incident there. As, oh dear, looks like Flock's just gotten past Shepherd at turn 4, and Mazomo is going to take advantage of that and get by the number 43 as well. This is Dylan Shepherd's first start this season in this series, and they're running side by side through the back half of the circuit. What can Mazomo do here? This has brought Tyson Broad and Joshua Van Treek right onto the back of this battle, and look at Van Treek sweeping around the outside of Mazomo. Is going to harry him here for this position. He's ahead on the way into the left-hander, and Mazomo's going to have to let him go there. Can he come back with an over-under out of the carousel? Well, Tyson Broad sees the gap open and thinks, hello, championship lead in Pro-Am. I'm right here now.
What a fight this is, and Mazomo trying his hardest to try and get that spot on Shepherd. Actually, it's cost him a spot and almost two. So we talked earlier about how this track can be easy to defend, but one thing we didn't talk about is if you are forced too wide, you can open yourself up to all sorts of positional changes and losses of position by being offline. So Mazomo just holds onto the spot from Tyson Broad. What a fight this is.
Yeah, similar to Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc in turn 4 in Bahrain. The driver ahead on the outside into the braking zone, just turning in and making sure that they stay ahead. Checking back in with all of those battles. It's very close here out on the racetrack. Now Simon Mazomo is in trouble of having his championship lead diminished if Tyson Broad can get past him here. Much faster there, cross turn 5. But, oh, yeah, the move was almost there. I don't think it would have worked from that far back, and now Broad's just cost himself time.
Yeah, that was heart-and-mouth stuff, though, because it was very, very close, and I was a bit worried that there was going to be contact. Glad there wasn't in the end, but great battle those guys have had for the last little bit. The reason we looked up to this battle, because Bowler is starting to lose the ground to Cooper Webster, and Job Stewart, Bo Albert, they're right in this now. 2 laps to go. Not much fighting left for these guys to hold on to.
Indeed. Looks to me like only 2 laps to go with 1:30 left on the clock, and Cooper Webster currently is leading this race by, oh goodness me, it's going to be about 1.2 seconds, the gap that he has got. And looks to me like Stewart will be attempting a move on Bowler sooner rather than later. Remember, these guys are teammates at Pursuit Sim Racing, so it'd be best for the team result that they don't take each other out here. But Stewart getting a really good exit, not quite able to line it up though for the right-hander. It's just a really short run between those corners.
Yeah, it's very, very quick, and the interesting thing about it is being downhill as well. You can brake a little bit deeper than you do tend to brake a little bit deeper than you think you should, and you can find yourself running wide there as well. So because it's a short shoot, you don't think that you've got much speed coming into that braking zone. You're downhill as well, so you need that extra bit of pressure. It's a very, very unique complex of corners. They get the white flag, last lap, 20 seconds on the clock. Timing is absolutely perfect.
Brilliant stuff there. So this event is running to schedule. Stewart a bit more aggressive with the turn 1 curve that time around. It's translated into a very nice exit coming into the keyhole, as that's Dylan Shepherd coming in for a pit stop, it seems. That is pretty odd, I have to say. What's going on here for Shepherd, I wonder, as there is Job Stewart alongside Matthew Bowler and trying to get himself up into second place. Bowler now will be on the outside for turn 4. How hard is he going to fight this? Bit of a better run down the straight, but Stewart up the inside. Now Matthew Bowler can try and play rear gunner for his championship leader teammate, try and keep Bo Albert behind.
Big word in that is try. Good to see that we're not the only ones confused as to what has happened to Dylan Shepherd. Race control are also confused. We'll see if we can find out later on, but this battle for second, third, fourth is well and truly on. Second might be out of Bo Albert's reach now, but you can sense that he's got the ability, potential to steal a podium away. Will he be able to do it through the last couple of corners?
Well, we're about to finish this race, and Cooper Webster, rounding the final corner here, is going to take the first race victory of the night, and looks like Bowler managed to keep Albert behind. So it is Red Bull Esports and 2 Pursuit cars taking your podium. Sebastian Vandel still fighting Simon Mazzomo here. He's managed to actually get past Mazzomo, or keep him behind rather, and with Dylan Shepherd taking that pit stop, that has gifted him the victory. Awesome to see, as we have Schultz and Mitchell still fighting over P17. Who is going to win this battle out? Looks to me like it is Jai Schultz. Dylan Shepherd did make it out onto the racetrack again. He finishes just ahead of them. Was only stopped for 3.7 seconds. I'm not too sure why Shepherd pitted there. Maybe he didn't quite put enough fuel back into the car there after qualifying. Either way, this is how they ended up finishing in race 1 here at Mid-Ohio. Cooper Webster in car 37 taking a well-deserved race victory, taking advantage of the fighting between Job Stewart and Bo Albert. Stewart will come home second with his teammate Bowler behind. Albert 4th, Dance 5th, Flock in 6th. Sebastian Vandel is going to take the Pro-Am victory. Simon Mazzomo and Tyson Broad, the top 2 in the standings for that class, complete the podium there, with Joshua Van Treek 10th overall.
And there we got Nicholas Garrioch, the leader of the AM class, finishes in 11th outright. Robert Cook in 12th. Kyle Booth in 13th, with Rob Harris finishing 14th. Dylan Shepherd will start this race from reverse grid pole in 15th in that race. Then we've got Schultz, Mitchell, James and Wood rounding out our field. Of course, the Yeaman at the bottom, driving the safety car. Fingers crossed we will not need to see one of them tonight.
Well, with this top 15 invert, we've got the, well, pretty much the entirety almost of the Pro-Am field starting ahead of our pros. There's going to be a lot of moves being made here in the first couple of laps. And it's the same story as last time. These drivers will begin racing on the way into turn 4 here at Mid-Ohio. Now, we see that Cooper Webster, all the way back in 15th place. He's going to have all those drivers ahead of him that he had to try and work his way past in race 1. And we've seen that moves can be made here at Mid-Ohio, but you will have to, I think, depend a little on drivers ahead of you battling a bit too hard with each other, slowing each other up side by side.
Yeah, we saw the issue with going side by side, especially through the S's, how much it does impact your pace. So we'll see if anyone does have that trouble tonight in this race. I would guess that someone else will do the same thing and try and throw it too wide and lose a heap of ground. But, we'll see whether that does happen. We've just had the timer for the grid hold extended a little bit so the drivers could just step away and have a tiny little break before they get back in the car. Sometimes doing these races 15 minutes back to back, especially when they're as intense as some of the racing can be in these cars, just to just step away for a couple of moments.
Yeah, the last super sprint round we had was a couple rounds ago at Barber Motorsports Park, and the racing was incredibly intense at that very tight and twisty circuit. Mid-Ohio not as tight and twisty as Barber, but still around that second half of the lap you've got plenty of places you can make a mistake. Pace car in then, Dylan Shepherd still weaving on his way down the front straight here at Mid-Ohio. He's still keeping it nice and stable, or is he?
Oh, he's actually gone.
He's gone. Dylan.
I think Shep may have forgotten that that's not where they're starting.
Yeah, there we
He's
go.
pulled it up now. He's realised, hang on, we're not supposed to go yet.
Whoops-a-daisy. Putting some extra heat into his tyres then as a result. Rob Harris is going to be starting alongside him here. And Shep, I know from experience, and you know, Jay, from watching him over the years, he is a very quick driver. So let's see if he can hold on to this lead. See when he decides to go. Harris is holding back just a little bit. The field continuing to form up here. Remember, it's that second set of cones that they start from through this kink here. When does Dylan decide to go? When they reach the cones, and away he goes. Already making it 3 wide off the start there is Tyson Broad. Gets Robert Cook and Nicholas Garriott coming into turn 4, but it is Shepherd who leads the way. Kyle Booth getting around Rob Harris, and oh dear, there's a crash. Robert Cook has been turned around, it seems, with some contact from the rear from Nicholas Garriott.
Yep, around he goes, and that'll hurt Garriott as well, because if race control investigates that, gives him a penalty. That'll shoot him all the way to the back. Bo Albert through past Sebastian Van Dal. Cooper Webster trying to make moves off the side of the circuit there. Sebastian Flock almost throwed it away off to Narnia, but kept it out of the wall. Continue on in the right direction, but Cooper Webster alongside him gets through.
Still very much in the wardrobe, these drivers are, as they reach the end of the first 75% of a lap of racing. Bo Albert behind Cameron Dance there, and already up into the top 10, close to the top 5. Have a look at this as we ride on board with Garriott. Are they going to make it 3 wide into turn 1? No. The 97 of Van Treek decides to hold back and doesn't sneak through on the inside. So that's another position lost there for Garriott. I've just reviewed that incident on the first lap. I'm not too sure if blame can necessarily be assigned to Garriott. He was holding his line, actually maybe a little bit of oversteer, but Robert Cook, it seems, coming through the middle of the track and came down on him a little bit. I won't say that that's exactly what happened. Of course, my analysis might be flawed. We'll leave it up to race control to decide. But it is still Dylan Shepherd leading the way. Kyle Bruth and Tyson Broad, your top 3. Cameron Dance is the leader of our pro drivers at the moment in 5th, and Bo Albert, Job Stewart and Cooper Webster here in hot pursuit.
Good drive from Kyle Booth at the moment too, maintaining that spot in P number 2. Tyson Broad's stuck with him, but the front 4 haven't let these pro guys get ahead too quick and gain up and gain spots and elbow them out of the way. Not literally elbow them out of the way, but, you know, sort of force the issue a little bit more aggressively than we may see with some other drivers. Now, one thing that I've only just thought about too, different driver leading the field at the moment. Will the different pace of the driver at the front mean that we end up 1 lap shorter in this race? Rob Harris!
That's huge there. Doesn't look like too much damage on the car, though. Only a slight tap to the wall there. He actually got the slide on the way out of turn 1. Didn't catch the grass, but the rear end broke free, and that's created some drama here for Cameron Dance and Job Stewart. Stewart then will try his best to make his way past Dance into turn 4. Harris has managed to get back going nicely. No damage to the car from what I can see, but Stewart will try his best here. Cameron Dance, though, responding well around the outside, gets the inside for turn 5, but then Stewart, look at the outside momentum he's maintaining. This is, once again, Cooper Webster seeing 2 drivers going side by side in front of him. Is this going to be a repeat of race 1?
Well, he sort of hopes it is, because he got himself into the lead from the battling, but in the same breath, there was contact ahead of him, and he would have been nervous about it. Webster gets through on Dance, and just ahead you can see Kyle Booth starting to cause some issues with the guys ahead as Bo Albert off the circuit manages to hold on, but that causes Cooper Webster to check up.
And that was from contact with Tyson Broad, unfortunately. Now, Webster right on the back of his former teammate and mate Bo Albert on the way through into turn 1 to start lap 4. Have a look at the gap here that these drivers have got. Dylan Shepherd leads by nearly 2 seconds now over Kyle Booth. A little bit of a look from Cooper Webster on Bo Albert, but these guys will be raring to try and get past Tyson Broad. It's huge. Oh dear, that's Javon Wood and Zach Mitchell with some issues coming out of turn 1 as coming through there is Robert Cook, who was spun on lap 1, of course. Let's see what happened to them here coming into turn 1 with a replay thanks to our friends at Virtual Racing School. Did the slide happen in the middle of the corner? It did indeed, and comes back across the racetrack and turns around the car there, the 369 of Javin Wood, and it looks like he's gone back to the pits.
Here, Reese, sorry to cut you off there. As we've got Tyson Broad, he's lost 3 positions through 2 corners here. So dive up the inside from Job Stewart, forces Broad a little bit wide. And then from there, goes, well, hang on, where do I go? And then the 2 behind are going to follow through. Broad goes, no thanks, I don't want to be part of that. Gets out of the way.
And there we go. Oh, that's the position sorted for the time being, but not for these guys. Oh, have a look at Job Stewart here on the back of Kyle Booth, going for second place. Is this going to be a move coming up into the keyhole? It is. Booth gives him room on the inside. Will he be able to hold that outside? It's another look on Bo Albert from Cooper Webster, and it looks like it's worked this time. They go side by side. Stewart makes the move on Kyle Booth, but it's not over between Bo Albert and Cooper Webster.
Good battle going on, isn't it? These two, as you said, they're good friends, former teammates. They know each other very, very well. But, Albert almost had to force it 3 wide there to avoid contact into the back of Kyle Booth, because Booth is just a little bit slower into the corner, a little bit earlier on the brakes. Good avoiding action, but, oh no, not again. Side by side, here we go.
Oh dear. Well, Cooper Webster's got the inside. Is Albert going to let it go? Oh, they bang wheels just a little on the exit. Now Albert's going to keep forcing the issue here. You're running side by side almost the full lap here when you decide to battle with another driver. But Cooper Webster a little bit harder there into the carousel. Can Bo hold the outside around the carousel? I sincerely doubt it. And that falls into line behind the number 37. And that is position loss there for Bo. But very staunch defense indeed. Valiant.
No further action, as you suspected, for that incident on lap 1 between Cook and also Garriott. You were right in your analysis there, as Booth gives up 1 spot, lets Cooper Webster by. Oh, Albert gets held up as Van Dal and Dance both run wide. Bowler and Broad go through.
Goodness me. Well, Bowler still up behind these guys. Oh, there's Bo Albert there, making the move on the 110 of Kyle Booth. Another position loss there for Kyle, but still holds on to that position in the top 5. Sebastian Flock a little bit further back than he would like. Same could be said for Cameron Dance. They haven't worked their way up through the field quite as well as their other pro-class counterparts, and I'm seeing there's a little bit of damage on Cameron Dance's front bumper as well, which might be toying with his confidence just a little.
Dylan Shepherd leads by only, well, I was about to say a second, but within a couple of corners, it's gone from a second down to 0.8 of a second. Job Stewart is coming fast, and with absolute fire in the belly, he'll be wanting to win this race. Come back after not winning race 1 due to redressing the position to Bo Albert.
We'll see what kind of pace Cooper Webster has, though, because if Job can't get the move done quickly on Dylan, then Cooper's going to be right there. Once again, Kyle Booth having to make way for a driver on the inside of the keyhole. This time it is Matthew Bowler who moves back up into 5th place. It's been a good run from Bowler this week. 3rd place in race 1 and looking for a top 5 at least for race 2. Of course, Cooper Webster and Bo Albert work together very cleanly, and there is a bit of a gap between them now, so it doesn't look like there's going to be much in the way of position fighting for 3rd and 4th, but for the lead, Job Stewart is right on the back of Dylan Shepherd here, coming through the back half of the lap. Take it easy, guys. When is this move going to be made? I would suspect not quite into the carousel. Shepherd just running a little bit wide there on the exit, almost opens the door to Job Stewart, but sticks to the inside. There's not enough of a door open there for Stewart to make any kind of move. Now then, at the end of lap 7, Job Stewart, he's going to have to stay behind into turn 1, I'd imagine. It's not a traditional overtaking opportunity. Going to have to rely on the run out here. And look at how aggressive he was over the curb. That's translated into a great run. And Shepherd is going to give him the inside here. Coming into the keyhole. Does Stewart execute the move? Well, he's gone maybe a little deep. No, he's actually managed to hold on to the line very nicely. So there we go. Job Stewart leads.
Nice move to get that done. I was about to say Tyson Broad's got past Kyle Booth, but Booth actually had the inside into the keyhole, and he's maintaining the run on the inside again. Cameron Dance, I think, has got more pace than both, as he should, being the pro driver. He goes, no, I've had enough of you boys fighting. I'm going 3 wide, and I'm going to take both.
Oh boy, take it easy. There we go.
Oh,
Contact made, and Tyson Broad is off the circuit. I was going to mention Simon Mazzomo. Well, Mazzomo's now made his way past Broad thanks to that. Previously was way off. And I don't know if there's going to be action from race control on that one. Yes, Dance did force it 3 wide, but I get the feeling that Kyle could have still stayed middle of the road. We'll have another view of it here.
There's plenty of room on the inside.
Yeah, could have turned in just a little earlier there and given a bit of extra room to Tyson Broad. Well, we'll leave it to race control to decide, as Zach Mitchell has retired from the session. Not a good night for him, unfortunately. But that is your top 4 there. Stewart, Webster, Shepherd, and Albert. Dylan Shepherd, he's done very well to hold on to the lead for as long as he did. But now, get the feeling with only 4 laps to go, he's going to have to start looking in his mirrors ever more here versus Bo Albert.
Yeah, Albert's trying to get himself back into that podium spot, and Shepherd's trying to do everything he can to hold on. I mean, at the moment, his pace isn't horrible. I mean, last lap by, he lost a lot of ground by letting the 2 leaders by, but general lap pace has been pretty close to these guys, maybe half a second, and that's all he's got to play with at the moment. Usually we say you need a second a lap more pace in the car ahead to be able to get an easy move done. Well, I don't think Albert's got a full second a lap over Dylan Shepherd at the moment. I think their pace is a little bit closer than that. Going to make it a little bit more difficult for Albert to go through.
Yeah, it seems with some more track time here, Dylan Shepherd really getting his eye in around mid-Ohio and is now starting to match the pace of these leading drivers a bit better. So we'll see what he can do to hold on for a podium here in race 2 of 3. Got to take it easy though, only 3 laps to go. And in terms of Job Stewart and Cooper Webster, well, Webster was the fastest car on track last time round and managed to gain almost 1.5 tenths on Job Stewart, so it's not quite over for the lead yet. Oh, here we go. Sebastian Flock trying up the inside of Kyle Booth at the keyhole. Will he be able to get it done? Booth stays really wide there to let him go, but translates it into almost an over-under. He's going to have the run down the straight and is going to be fighting here with the number 84 side by side on the way down to turn 4, but looks like Flock protecting the inside very nicely, and Booth is going to have to yield to him once more.
Nice move in the end from Seb Flock. Himself back up into the top 7, so our pro drivers all in the top 7 with 1 Pro-Am, our pole sitter Dylan Shepherd. Now, one question mark we may have had was around fuel. There should be enough starting fuel on the setup, of course, fixed setup in this series, so everyone should have enough fuel to finish. But the amount of fuel put in the cars was just enough. If you're extremely heavy-handed on the fuel, you may find yourself in a little bit of trouble. That is the only question mark we have around why Dylan Shepherd pitted on that last race. But even then, it still seemed odd because from what I've gathered from listening to a few drivers I've been talking to this week, the original amount of fuel that they were given was borderline, but not enough to do donuts if you actually won the race. So they've added a tiny little bit more fuel for those a little bit heavy-handed. Even still, everyone's surprised that there wasn't enough fuel in the car if that was the situation, but even then, not sure if that was even the case.
If someone were to take a slightly more negative reading as Albert tries on Shepherd here, Perhaps some of the more... Oh, goodness. Oh, that is a brave move there from Bo Albert. Forces Shepherd to go middle of the road and tries it side by side. Barely any room given there, but just enough for Bo Albert to stick alongside. He's going to have to yield again. Fantastic racing here for the final position on the podium. Albert still trying to go the inside, and he spooked Shepherd into a lockup there. Shepherd goes into 4th place. Didn't look like contact was made there from that aerial view. But Dylan Shepherd now will have lost touch with that podium, and now he's got Matthew Bowler right on the back of him. I was going to say it might have seemed a bit convenient that Shepherd's pit stop got him out into 15th place, which is pole position for race 2. But I don't think Shep's that kind of driver. No. He wouldn't do that. But have a look at how close it was between Albert and Shepherd here. Brilliant racing there. And again, coming in, no contact between the two. It's just Shepherd trying to protect the inside and turn in for the corner. Ended up locking up his fronts.
Well, I think he got a little bit sideways up over that crest as well as Albert tucked back in behind. So, yeah, definitely no contact that caused the incident. There was contact when they were rubbing coming out of turn 6, but after that I don't think there was any contact. As it's on for the lead, as Cooper Webster's closed down a second and is now there ready to fight, pounce and potentially steal the lead away on the last lap of the race.
Closer than it's been in a while for the lead of this race. Let's see if Job Stewart can hold him off. Coming through these last few sequences, looks like Webster is far enough behind that Stewart doesn't really need to worry. He's just got to make sure he nails the braking for the carousel here. Job Stewart, championship leader, and it looks like he is going to maintain it here. Keeps Cooper Webster behind. Coming through the penultimate corner, flat run through the last turn, and it's going to be the number 35 in victory lane once again. But an incredible battle there for the lead, and for 3rd and 4th as well. Looks like Shepherd just managed to hold off Bowler there for 4th place. Fantastic stuff. As the rest of the drivers come across the line here, see Joshua Van Treek trying his best to make his way past Kyle Booth. Didn't end up working out for him. Last couple of places here. The number 7 of Robert Cook fighting with Jai Schultz. And remember, Cook was involved in that lap 1 incident the stewards took no further action on. Good on him to stick with it and come home for a 15th place finish. Bit more news from race control before we go through the results. That 3-wide incident with Dance, Booth and Broad has been ruled no further action. So I guess that's a fair decision to make, as these are the results then. 2/10 was the gap at the end between Stewart and Webster. Albert completes the podium. Dylan Shepherd holding on to 4th. Excellent drive there from pole position. Bowler, Dance, Flock, Vandel, your top 8. And Kyle Booth is going to come home with the AM victory this time around, with Joshua Van Treek rounding out the top 10.
Good for that team, though, in the AM class with Gary Och Booth together as a team. Gary Och finishing 11th, back-to-back 11th positions for him. Mazomo, Harris, Broad and Cook finished 12th through to 15th in the Pro-Am class. All for those guys. Jai Schultz, Liam James also finish on the lead lap. Javon Wood finishes 1 lap down, and Zach Mitchell, as we said, did not finish the race. Just quickly as well, I want to clean up that I said it was fix it up. It's not fix it up, restricted tank is the wording I was looking for. So yeah, maybe that was what he did. He didn't start with a full tank of fuel. One thing we do have to talk about while the drivers are just in the warm-up phase race is originally we were going to a different track to where we're going to now for the next round. Next round we were originally going to Homestead, Miami. Some of the drivers said maybe that's not the best choice. And then someone, i.e. me, reminded the admins that this track was completely forgotten on the schedule, quickly added back in, and it is now going to be our next round of the season.
The Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache at Interlagos in Brazil. We go to Sao Paulo for the next round in 2 weeks' time. Really looking forward to that. And this is what the rest of the schedule looks like. After Interlagos, we're going to Virginia International Raceway, a fantastic track to watch racing at. Then we go to a couple of Formula One circuits at Silverstone and Spa-Francorchamps. Then we go to Britain for Snetterton at round 10. Then it's a proper international European deal here to Spain, the UK, Austria, the UK again, Belgium, before round 16 at Phillip Island, and then it's an Australian trio to end the season. We got Winton that just came out in the last build for round 18, and hopefully Sandown is done by the end of the year, because that's where we'll be for the final round, which is a 2-driver enduro.
Yeah, and I believe this is not confirmed, but I would be guessing that if Sandown isn't released, there's another Aussie track that we could put in that's not even on the schedule. That being Mount Panorama. So it's amazing to see an Aussie series that doesn't have Mount Panorama on the schedule, but I would guess that if Sandown isn't released for some reason, I'm 95% sure it will be, but never know. But if it's not, I would guess that that's where we go. But in saying that, there's other tracks that we could go to. And one thing about the schedule too is you notice that everything's been done into little segments. We've got the Americas to start off the season, the first 7 rounds. The next 8 rounds are all in Europe, and then the final 5 rounds are Asia Pacific.
Indeed, we go to Japan for round 17, racing at Twin Ring Motegi, which avid motorsport watchers will know from MotoGP and IndyCar. Fantastic circuit there in Motegi, Honda's former test track. Well, we've only got a couple of minutes now until the session ticks over to the final race of the night, and I'd be interested to see if Cooper Webster will be able to get the move done on Job Stewart in the opening stages, try and go for 2 from 3 tonight.
Yeah, he'll be trying his hardest to get that one more spot, because he was close enough in that race to do it if maybe there was one more lap. I mean, he's got the full 15 minutes, 16 minutes I should say, and 12 laps to do it in this one, being at the front. Issue they got his Bo Alberts right there to potentially pounce, but Job Stewart will be looking to try and maintain that win or that lead, because of course he was leading the race in race 1, but did sacrifice the position to ensure he didn't have any race control wrath later on. Yeah, I'm interested to see how that plays out. And the other thing I'm interested to see as well is who takes out the Pro-Am win in the next race. I mean, we've had 2 different winners tonight in Pro-Am. Also had 2 different winners in Am as well. So every class has had a different winner in each race.
Could be even more mixed up by the time we get to the end of the night's racing. It's certainly been entertaining here at Mid-Ohio. No big, huge multi-car incidents, but certainly I'm looking forward to seeing how the rest of this night goes. Only 30 seconds then until we tick over into the final race of the night, and there's going to be no grid invert for this one. They will start as they finished in race 2. So, I mean, there's plenty of contenders for victory in every class. Bo Albert has shown that he has great pace and has the ability to win here. If something happens between Stewart and Webster on the first couple of laps, then Albert can easily sneak through to take the win. Dylan Shepherd, though, he has quite the advantage in position at the start on his other Pro-Am drivers. Sebastian Vandel is separated from him by Bowler, Dance and Flock in the Pro class, so I wouldn't be surprised if Dylan Shepherd holds on for the Pro-Am lead here. The session ticks over and we can go through the grid for the final race of the night, which is pretty much the same as the way they finished in race 2. There's Stewart and Webster on the front row, then Albert and Shepherd on row 2, Bowler and Dance in the top 6, 7th Sebastian Flock, 8th Sebastian Vandel. Kyle Booth is going to start on pole position in Am, Joshua Van Treek alongside. Booth's teammate Nicholas Garriich will provide some good support there, with Simon Mazzomo up alongside in 12th. But Mazzomo's going to have Tyson Broad starting right behind him there on row 7 along with Rob Harris. Robert Cook is going to line up alongside Jai Schultz with Liam James and Javin Wood rounding out our field. Unfortunately, thanks to his retirement in last race, we have lost Zach Mitchell, so that only leaves our race control cars, Tom Wilkinson and Daniel Yeaman in the McLaren 570S GT4 safety car here at Aussie Online Gaming. Wow. What are we expecting from this one, Jay? Is the fighting going to be as intense at the front, or will they try and take it a bit easier this time around, knowing that they could give a big advantage to the drivers behind if they battle for too long?
I think it's somewhere in the middle of those two. They're going to want to fight hard, but they're not going to want to fight too hard that it ends in tears. So they're going to be aggressive, but not over the top. In saying that, we've thought that many, many times before in many, many broadcast races we've done before and been pleasantly surprised. So I'm expecting it to be frenetic, but semi-clean at the same time.
Well, the weave is on. These tyres start quite cold in the Porsche 992 Cup cars, but it seems that Stewart and Webster electing not to warm up their tyres as intensely as the rest of the field is. So Webster is going to have the inside for turn 4 on the start, but Job Stewart will likely try his best to get a jump. I'd be interested to see if he tries to defend into turn 4. It's very hard to pull off a defensive line into turn 4. You basically have to induce understeer and put yourself on the inside line for turn 5 if you want to continue defending a position. Otherwise, it just leaves a space open for your rival to pass you. Coming up then to the second set of cones. There's the first set right there. The alternate oval layout, and then the short layout alongside. When does Stewart decide to go? Beside the cones, waits a bit, and that is a fantastic jump there from Job Stewart over the rest of the field. Dylan Shepherd sees a bit of a door open on the inside of Cooper Webster, but Webster a bit later on the brakes. He's going to get alongside Job Stewart into turn 4. Does Stewart defend here? Just enough room given between the two drivers, and a big oversteer moment for Job Stewart. That gives the lead to Cooper Webster, but for how long? Albert is harrying the back of them here, and side by side again between our two leaders. How many times have we seen this already tonight? Albert is going to try and squeeze up the inside of Job Stewart here. Gets a slightly better exit, but it's not a long enough run here. Oh, is it going to happen again? It's happened before. Albert on the outside of Stewart, and it looks like a bit of contact between them once more. Albert re-enters the track. Dylan Shepherd having to take a little bit of avoiding action. Webster went a little deep there into the carousel, but holds on to the lead.
There's an incident at the back of the field as well. Joshua Van Treek spun in front of the entirety of the field. Has managed to keep it going in the right direction. Robert Crooks also had a moment on this lap as well. Dylan Shepherd's had a moment too out of the turn 1, and he's ended up facing the wrong direction. Be careful with that reverse.
No, he's pulled out.
He's going again. So just had an internet blink just at the wrong time, but he's going again. Shepherd back alongside. I was going to try and get a replay of what happened back in the field, but I don't think we can with this battling going on.
Not yet anyway. Stewart on the outside into turn 4. Nope, can't maintain the momentum. So now, Albert, just a tiny bit of a return serve there, I think. A slight tap to Job Stewart as Cameron Dance gets by Sebastian Flock there. I got Matthew Bowler watching this podium battle with great interest. He'll be hoping that he gets on the podium again. But it's certainly not over here between Bo Albert and Job Stewart.
A little bit of a rivalry starting to happen here between Job Stewart and Bo Albert, isn't there? Every race has been a tiny little bit of contact, a little bit of a push and shove, a little bit of argy-bargy. No love lost between these two out there. They're pushing hard, but they're pushing within the boundaries of being too over the top.
Just within, and looks like Stewart got the jump he needed out of the final corner. Nonetheless, it is Cooper Webster leading the way here to the tune of half a second now at the start of lap 3. And I would expect if all things go as planned for him, then he is going to start pulling away. Virtual Racing School replay. We'll check out what happened here to Joshua Van Treek. And this is
let me try this again.
Actually, let's take another look then. Thanks to our friends at Virtual Racing School. Dylan Shepherd losing another position. So coming together then with Tyson Broad, actually tried to scythe his way up the inside, but then a bit of rear quarter contact. Broad ends up getting spun as well.
And Broad's rejoin there was very, very close to being a little bit messy, and now this field was actually split up a little bit there. That was Javin Wood and a couple of others there, all in a little pack. As you said, the Shep, he's lost another spot. Bowler now is getting back within the fight. The top 3 altogether, though. This is the closest the top 3 has been since race 1.
What a battle it is too. Cooper Webster hasn't been able to pull away from Job Stewart. In fact, the gap has decreased. It's down to 0.4 of a second across the line. Webster just a little bit wide through turn 1 as well, which gives Stewart another small advantage. What can they do then coming down the back stretch here? Stewart just a little wide. Albert sticking to the inside of the corner all the way through. You can see that that's not necessarily the fastest line through that corner. As I mentioned before, double apexing the keyhole can often be the fastest way out, because you've got the fastest way out is what you need, thanks to this long back stretch. But Webster still holding on to the lead. Stewart, though, seems very confident on the throttle through the S's here.
Tyson Broad drive-through penalty for that incident on lap 1. I don't think there's too much of a surprise there on that one either.
Yeah, looks like it. Unfortunate there, but I think a pretty fair decision there from race control. First actual penalty of the night. Van Treek was held wide by Sebastian Vandel, but had long committed to turning in for turn 9 when Broad dives in. Those are the words of race control. Coming up then to the end of lap 4. We are past a third race distance now, and it is still Cooper Webster who leads the way, but again the gap is about 3/4 of a second. Job Stewart is really harrying the back of him here.
Definitely is, and Albert's not quite with these guys, but I'm wondering if that's actually strategic, that he's sitting back a tiny little bit, almost forcing Job Stewart to go, hey, get in there. Almost enticing Stewart to say, hey, get in there. I'm not going to try and take the spot away from you, but secretly he's trying to take the spot away from him when he goes and makes it side by side. So I think that's what Albert's doing here. I don't think he's trying to sit with them right under the rear wing. The other part of that too is dirty air can actually affect the cars a little bit here too, so sitting back a tiny little bit might make it a little bit easier for Bo Albert later on in the race. Interesting too that fastest lap of the race has actually gone to Job Stewart, not to Cooper Webster.
Yeah, that's quite the stat there. Usually when Cooper Webster's racing, he's the only driver you would consider for getting the fastest lap, but that is the time that Job Stewart has set, 22.27. That's 0.2 faster than Webster's fastest lap that he set on the previous lap. Either way, the fighting is going to continue for quite some time yet. The top 3 a long way away from the rest of the field. Matthew Bowler not under much pressure in position 4, but Cameron Dance and Sebastian Flock, once again, they are fighting together on the circuit. Sebastian Vandel just managed to escape the incident between Tyson Broad and Joshua Van Treek, was just ahead of them at the time. And there is Simon Mazzomo in 8th place. Looking down to see Tyson Broad, unfortunately, considering the penalty that he'd been given, this might result in Simon Mazzomo taking the championship lead in Pro-Am.
Yeah, of course, he's got the lead at the moment, but very, very close.
Keeping it, I should say.
Very, very close, though, between Broad and Mazzomo. I know I was talking to Simon pre-race. He said his one aim is to beat his one rival he's got in the series. That's Tyson Broad. And I'm sure that Tyson has probably thought the same thing. The only thing he wants to do is beat Mazzomo. So those two are having a really interesting fight. The one thing that I don't think either of them considered, or have considered, is how much pace Sebastian Vandel's got, and he's coming at them as well. So we've got a real top 3 potential championship battle in both our Pro and Pro-Am classes.
Yeah, it's been good stuff there from Joshua Van Treek, Sebastian Vandel, to hold on to the position he is currently in 7th. Tyson Broad has made his tour through the pit lane and is back out in 17th. The last driver running on circuit at the moment, Liam James, unfortunately retiring in car 213. Oh dear, and this is interesting. A 5-second time penalty has just come in for Job Stewart for failing to leave racing room on lap 1. That, I think, was for the incident with Bo Albert.
Bo Albert, yeah, through the second last corner where he forced Albert off the circuit. So, interesting little battle going on. I'm sure that Job won't be too happy to hear that. So now there's some extra incentive for him to try and get this move done. And Cooper may just think, well, no point me worrying about fighting too hard. If he comes to try and take the position, I might just let him go.
Yeah, because what Job Stewart has to worry about here is, as things stand at the moment, 5 seconds of a time penalty would put him in 5th place, just between Cameron Dance and Sebastian Flock at the moment. Flock is 5.3 seconds off the race lead. So that would be some points lost for Job Stewart. Not as many points as could be lost, but still, he'll want to try and keep getting every point he possibly can. Doesn't look like Cooper Webster's backing off, though.
No, 100%. And I mean, in the other part of that is, why would he try and back off too much? Because, he's still out there racing, still want to win the race on your own merit. And the other part of that too is there's a little bit of bragging rights in it too. I mean, if he can take a win in race 1, race 3, that's a great result for the night. But if he gives up the on-track win, that's not quite as special when you look at it in the result sheet later on. Change of position in the in the AM class though. Kyle Booth threw on Nicholas Garriott.
Trade for position between the teammates, it seems. Well, Garriott Booth Motorsport, or Booth Garriott, I can never quite remember the order, is doing quite well here. It is Garriott Booth. Excellent stuff.
Good guess, first go.
Cheers. Kyle Booth still holding on to this, but they're facing a lot of pressure here from Rob Harris, who we've seen have a few dramas tonight. Oh dear, Tyson Broad back into the pit lane and slow. What has gone on from here? Did he not put enough...
Well, he had an incident a little while ago. Have a look at the steering's not right in it. Had an incident a couple of laps ago where he actually looped the car. I think he may have potentially punctured the fuel tank, lost all his fuel.
Yeah, not too sure.
I know Race Control's listening. Maybe they can send us a message and let us know what may have happened there.
It just seems that Broad backs off in the last few corners and just coasts into the pit lane. Slows right down. No idea what's gone on there for Tyson Broad. Well, we'll hopefully find out at some point before we wrap things up for the night. Battle for the top 3 is spaced out a bit. Albert has lost some time to Webster and Stewart up ahead. Stewart now ahead of Albert by about 1.3 seconds. So what does Bo Albert do here? He knows that Job Stewart has a time penalty hanging over his head. And now it looks to me like with Cameron Dance and Sebastian Flock losing a bit of time, it seems that Stewart will only fall to 4th place now once that penalty is applied. We do have some I guess, speculation from Race Control. They believe that Tyson Broad opted to retire the car rather than finish the race to ensure that he earns championship points for race 3. Here's Dylan Shepherd alongside Javin Wood. And Shepherd is behind Javin Wood on live pictures, and that's why... Oh dear. That's very similar
That's
to...
messy.
Yeah, very. That's quite similar to what happened between Nicholas Garriott and Robert Cook at the start of race 2. But for championship points in this series, you have to complete 50% race distances.
Meatball flag for Javin Wood.
Oh, yeah. That wasn't even that big of a hit.
No. Surprised that he's ended up with a meatball from that, but he'll get back out there, I'm sure. Everyone gets a spare car, so off they go. Back out there again goes Javin Wood. Out into the race.
Well, we still have 17 of our 19 starters from race 1 still racing. And the gap between Cooper Webster and Job Stewart still holding at 3.5 tenths of a second. It's been quite stable. Webster's putting in a good drive here. He's just matching the pace of Job Stewart, just keeping him behind by a car length or so.
He's doing enough, isn't he? And Bo Albert's definitely dropped off the pace. He's decided that there's no point fighting in amongst those two. He would have seen that time penalty come in and go, well, I might as well just drop back a little bit. No point me being there. But he's close enough to potentially pounce on an error from one or both of these drivers. If something happens and the two come together, Bo Albert's close enough to take the spots. but he's far enough back to avoid it if something does happen.
Look at this, though. It's under 3/10 now for the lead out of the keyhole. Job Stewart in the draft of Cooper Webster, still racing for a good position on track. Reminder, he does still have that penalty that he will have to have assigned to him after the checkered flag. But it should still be a consistent run of points here for Job Stewart, and he should still have done enough to just hold on to the championship lead, finishing ahead of Bo Albert in all 3 races so far tonight. Back to the gap for 5th as, oh dear, Garriott and Harris very close together. They've lost a bit of time to Kyle Booth, but looks like the team result is still going well for Garriott Booth Motorsports. And Rob Harris, despite the issues that he suffered earlier, still out there on track and still coming home for some consistent finishes as the final lap has begun for Cooper Webster and Job Stewart. The clock now running down to 0.
Clock has just hit 0 then, so they've crossed the line with, what, about 15 odd seconds left on the clock. Good battle at the lead still. Cooper Webster doing more than enough. And yeah, as it is right now, Job Stewart will tuck in just behind Matthew Bowler. So interesting to see. I'm not saying that this would happen intentionally or unsportingly, but Bowler's teammates with Stewart. Will Bowler check up a little bit and do the teammate thing and let him maintain less than 5 seconds? Not sure if they've even considered that an option.
Well, looks like the gap is now over 5 seconds now.
Yeah, potentially.
Just went over 5 seconds on my live timing. Bowler there, still racing at a good speed, but that is the gap, the relative gap between them. Final corner, though, for Cooper Webster. Job Stewart has backed off a bit. The gap is now out to 7/10 of a second. And Cooper Webster will be very happy with the run he's had tonight. Nice, clean racing from him, and a big slide out of the final corner to celebrate the round win here at Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, good job from those guys, and Sebastian Vandal will hold on to the Pro-Am win. Good job from him, and Kyle Booth will hold on to the Am win. Also, just hearing from Race Control, that incident between Javon Wood and Dylan Shepherd will be reviewed post-race. No surprise with how close it was to the end of the race. That's a post-race review. Garriott just holds on from Rob Harris by 0.3 of a second, but what a fun night of racing. Webster, Stewart, Albert, by far the top 3 in the field. They'll pick up podium in each of the races. Well, Albert didn't in race 1. Sorry, I apologise for that.
All good. And yeah, I'd agree. It was a good night of racing for sure. Celebrations already beginning there for Cooper Webster, and a bit unfortunate for Job Stewart. Guess how far behind? Oh, actually, Stewart. You know what? I think
he'll finish 4th. He'll finish in behind Matthew Bowler, but ahead of Cameron Dance.
Yes, he will. So that's the way things go here at Mid-Ohio. We'll run through our final results of the night. These are, of course, unofficial results you're seeing. Cooper Webster in the first place. Job Stewart crosses the line in second, but will be classified 4th. That promotes Matthew Bowler up into the podium with Bo Albert, earning enough points for a second place finish. Cameron Dance rounds out the top 5, with Sebastian Flock finishing behind him. Sebastian Vandel is going to take the Pro-Am class victory ahead of Simon Mazzomo. And it's Kyle Booth who takes the Am victory, leading home a 1-2 for Booth Garriott Motorsports, with Nicholas in 10th.
Very, very good drive from those guys. We've got Rob Harris in 11th ahead of Dylan Shepherd, then Jai Schultz and Joshua Van Treek. Then Taylor Voy for Robert Cook, Javon Wood, Tyson Broad, and then we've got Liam James, who did not start that race, Zach Mitchell, who pulled out midway through the previous.
Unfortunate for those drivers, but hopefully they'll be back for the next round at Interlagos, and we can get ourselves an excellent set of races there at the Brazilian circuit. Time to move on to our driver interviews. The first driver we're going to talk to, 2 race wins from 3 tonight. It's Red Bull Esports' Cooper Webster. Congratulations, Cooper. Back in the saddle here in the AOG Porsche Cup and taking some very good wins, but certainly had to work for it with how close the battling was.
Yeah, had a lot of fun. I think the draft, kept everyone really close at this track, and I think this track offers a lot of good racing because I had a few good side-by-side battles with Bo and Job there. It was really good. I really enjoyed it, but it's a tough little track. Feels like you're gonna spear off at every corner, but it's good to fight again and get a few wins.
Certainly. Well, we go to Interlagos next round. Can we expect you there? And what are your thoughts on that track?
I don't mind it. It's I raced there for Pesk, so I'm kind of sick of the track, but I'll probably be there to give it another go. It's really enjoy this series and fighting, and so I'll make it there if I can.
Excellent stuff. Well, before we let you go, Cooper, anyone you'd like to thank from your garage who got it done for you tonight?
Yeah, just like to thank Red Bull Esports and the people that put on this series because they put a lot of hard work in, and I really enjoy racing.
Well, we send our congratulations once again to the driver of car number 37 for an excellent drive here tonight. Next up, we've got Pursuit Sim Racing's Matthew Bowler with 2 podiums here tonight. Excellent stuff there, Matthew. Were you expecting a result like that?
No, not at all, actually. I thought last time around was a bit of a fluke. So to get on the podium twice is awesome. Had a really good few races. The car was pretty hooked up, but it was really sketchy on the first 2 laps at turn 1. So yeah, it was more about not spinning out at the start. But the guys at the front were battling pretty hard. So it was pretty cool to be battling up against people like Cooper and other people like that. It was pretty cool.
And that's a very interesting aspect of racing here at Mid-Ohio with how twisty it is, but how wide the track is as well. There's a lot of potential for side-by-side racing, and it's all about momentum through those corners. You basically got to plan the last half of the lap in advance. Yeah,
exactly. Mid-Ohio is a great track for battling. It's not used too often, which is a bit sad because I've always loved racing around here. But yeah, like things like turn 2 and going onto the back straight, the toe is just ridiculous down here. So it's just a draft fest. But since the track's so wide, there's a lot of room to go too wide. I mean, I don't think we really saw too much good racing around in too wide. But there's just a lot of room for opportunity. So I was able to pick up a few passes from taking a wider line and focusing on the straight line speed.
Well, congratulations once again, and thank you for joining us, Matthew. Anyone you'd like to thank?
Just want to thank the guys at Pursuit Sim Racing, all the guys in the Discord. They know who they are, and obviously you guys for putting on an awesome broadcast as always, and Tom and Dan at AOG for hosting the league.
Congratulations once again to Matthew Bowler in car 12. Pro-Am victory in race 3 went to number 4, Sebastian Vandel. Congratulations, Seb. You must be very happy with that result.
Yeah, very happy with that result. It's a very, very long race. Just looking in the mirrors at Simon, who was slowly catching me throughout the feature race. But yeah, overall good race.
Certainly had to deal with quite a few cars around you, especially on the first couple of laps. Very difficult to sort out positions around here.
Yeah, it was very busy on the first lap. It was just, close racing. It was awesome fun.
Well, what are your thoughts on Interlagos? You're looking forward to going there now that Homestead Miami's off the schedule?
I haven't driven there a lot before, but yeah, I've driven on other games, and yeah, it's one of my favourite tracks. I love it.
Well, we hope to get another chance to talk to you there. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank, Sebastian?
Just the Brassic Sim Racing and and the sponsors, Goodyear, Autocare, Orana, Real Sim Racing Australia. Racing is custom hearing protection. We support FU Suicide and hashtag No Social Hate. And just a shout out to my go-kart sponsors, Stratacore, Lakes Custom Computers, Drillers World Australia, and Shockwave Signs. and you guys for doing the broadcast.
Cheers, Sebastian Vandel. We'll let you celebrate that Pro-Am class victory. Final driver interview of the night is going to be from Booth Garriott Motorsports, Kyle Booth. A 1-2 finish for you guys, Kyle, in the last race. Must be ecstatic with that.
Yeah, I'm very happy with it, actually. Wasn't too sure how we're going to go. You know, all we were focused on pretty much was staying ahead of Javen Wood. So we achieved that. It all came into our laps.
That it did, and it was a very intense battle with Rob Harris in the final stages of race 2. How were you approaching that? Was it simply a case of both of you trying to stay ahead, or was Nicholas trying to keep Harris behind?
Well, initially I was behind Nick and, you know, he had some pace to stay there and I was pretty happy to follow, but then he started to drop off a little bit and we thought, you know, points-wise it's not really going to affect us. So I took the lead and he followed and, yeah, it worked out well. But he was definitely on our hammer, that's for sure.
Yeah, certainly giving you guys a good race there, and you got a good bit of airtime as well. The cars were looking good out there. Any sponsors on those cars that you'd like to thank before we let you go?
ZTech Engineering, Marley Constructions, Inox Lubricants, My Real Estate Queensland, Repco, Boss Transport and Growler Race Engines.
Well, that's Kyle Booth there taking the AM victory. Jay, my goodness, what a night of racing it was. Really looking forward to next round at Interlagos. It's going to be fun with that super long front stretch leading into the Center S. A prime overtaking opportunity there. But there's overtaking opportunities everywhere you look in Sao Paulo.
100%. And what Cooper said before about racing there in Pesk, every single time the Porsche Esports Super Cup has gone to Interlagos, it has been absolutely fantastic racing. So I'm looking forward to that. These cars, Interlagos, a very, very fun combination. Cannot wait for 2 weeks' time. Bring it on. And of course, if you are in states or areas that have daylight savings, that will end before the next round. So adjust your times accordingly.
Indeed. I'm going to have to remember that as well.
I'll remind you, don't worry.
Yes, indeed. It's been an hour earlier than usual for me over here in WA, so I'll be going up there at 6 p.m. Perth time now. Well, we want to thank everyone for tuning in across all of our platforms on YouTube, on Facebook Live, and on Twitch too. Thank you very much for your patronage, and make sure to subscribe to SimSpeed on YouTube and hit the bell so that you don't miss a single one more of our broadcasts. Thanks very much also to the crew at Aussie Online Gaming for organising this whole shebang, and to Sam Blacklock Media for his support of this series. I'm Reese Gardner, it's Jay Kennedy alongside me and directing from the comms box. From all of us here, bye for now, but not forever. We'll see you at Interlagos in a fortnight.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now. He's got traction. He's got really outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh, no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh, my God.
God, what?